Hey.
Oh, your crime fighters with, like, turtle costumes.
Joe Deckelmeyer here with Screen Rant at Comic-Con 2024. I am with the legend himself, Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You shaped so much of my childhood and don't even know it. It is so awesome. Question I have for you is Mutant Mayhem, Tales of TMNT, The Last Ronin. It's a strong air for the Turtle franchise that we're in. We're in this resurgence now. What does it feel like to be in the middle of this Turtles resurgence in 2024?
Every time I think of it, the first word that comes to mind is quite honestly, it's humbling. It's one of those things that, when 40th anniversary this year, when I think back of when Peter and I started, and it was like, we were just hoping we could sell enough of the first issue to just clear them out of our living room. And because we just loved it, we were so passionate about telling these stories. And the fact that the fans have carried us and have enjoyed so many iterations of the Turtles, every time we said, well, that was a great run after 10 years, and now it's another 10. And so going in with, Mutant Mayhem, which was just a huge success, Last Ronin, which has been so much fun, and then the continuation of Jason Aaron's joining the team is just, it really, bing, bing, what? It's awesome.
I mean, that's kind of crazy to think that, like, if you influenced a whole generation of creators that are coming up now, Jason Aaron being one of them. Can you talk about working with him on Turtles and his ideas and approach that really kind of lit a light bulb in your head?
Well, to me, what's so incredible in that, you think of the legacy. I mean, Peter and I were inspired by Jack Kirby, so we firmly stand on the shoulders of giants, and that was actually the foundation of the structure of the creation of the Turtles. Is we put everything we loved about comics into our characters, and we've been lucky enough to work with so many talented creators like Tom Waltz, who I worked with for so many years, and when we meet someone as a creative caliber of Jason Aaron's, I'm a huge fan of his work. Anyway, we spent time sort of getting caught up to Turtle history because it's 150 issues. And we said, this is what's been done, this is done. We had, and it was just sort of, you have ideas, you run with it. We want to see what you see in it and what you're passionate about in your Turtles, and sort of cut the leash and let them go, and just watched and wonder as he sort of unfolded this story he wants to tell, which was fantastic.
That's wild. That is wild. Now, we obviously see a lot of Michelangelo in The Last Ronin, but do you think there's any other Turtles that work best as solo characters at all?
That was the fun part of in the early days when Peter and I worked, is that we had each issue of the Turtles, and the main series was the group of Turtles all going through these different circumstances and adventures and handling things. We early on started with the Raphael one-shot. We wanted to feature an issue of each Turtle to try to bring out their personality. So we did, Donatello, where he meets Kirby, Raphael, where we introduced Casey Jones. Michelangelo, of course, was a Christmas special, which was just so much fun. And then Leonardo was more leading into a big finale we had with Turtles issue 10 and 11. So they each have their strengths, and it's fun to sort of peel away the other brothers for an issue and tell a story that's all them. And that's what I love about those single shots. Yeah.
We're celebrating a Turtles anniversary. We are, right?
Yes.
This is a big Turtles anniversary.
Yes.
Tell us what we have planned for this Ninja Turtles anniversary.
Well, it's been a whole year, and I feel like we're getting extra spoiled. As even my wife Courtney and I, we do a lot of shows. We do 16 shows this year, which is more than we normally do, but it's kind of the 40th anniversary tour. We did a wonderful. We weren't sure if he had come in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, back in April. We had a show, basically the same guy, the same location that the first issue was premiered in. Pete was able, his health was good enough that he showed up, he signed for 2 days. And so it's just being out there and being able to say thank you to the fans, feeling the love back for them for all their years of support. So it's just been, it's a year of just awesomeness.
Awesome. Yeah, a complete year of awesomeness. Yeah. Now, which villain or supporting character do you think goes underappreciated in the franchise and deserves more spotlight?
I love the sort of more of the fringe guys, because, Shredder, Krang, which we all love, Bebop and Rocksteady and those things. But, characters like Rat King, which I really liked, and Tom did such a great job in the IDW ongoing line where he brought him back as a really strong, influential character. But I think if I had to pick one that I would like to see more of, I'd say Rat King, maybe a little Leatherhead, a little bit more of him. But
that's incredible. Now, do you think there are any other Turtles that could lead a Last Ronin style story that we haven't seen?
It's a great question, because it was one of those when I first because Peter and I wrote the original concept for the story back in 1987, and then Tom and I went and adapted it. And to me, it was like, for a minute, you think, well, Raphael, and then you think of each of them and what they would bring to it. But to me, it was never any question that would be Michelangelo. I wanted Michelangelo because, one, he was the firstborn in the first turtle drawn in the series in the creation process, and also as what we developed him as a character through the original comics, through the edition series. He's the more laid back, the more easygoing, the jokester, those kind of things. So us, me especially, had the longest way to go to arrive at to be the implement of revenge and redemption and everything that you needed to be this ultimate badass to sort of end the feud.
I think it's so interesting with each of the turtles because at some point in my life, I feel like I've been one of them. You know what I mean? Like early on, I felt like a young Michelangelo. As I got older, I felt, or that rage in me felt really Raph. You know what I mean? The more I wanted to learn about things, I felt a little bit like Donnie. And then, having some friends and being an older brother, I felt like a lot like Leo. So throughout your life, what turtle would you be right now?
Great question too, because it is literally one of my favorite questions to ask fan. Anybody that comes up to the table, and they're either wearing it on the sleeve, like a Donatello mask or a Leonardo mask. But I ask, who's your favorite turtle and why? Because you can tell a lot about their personality.
Sure. Just
by that, and it's interesting because a lot of them will say, well, when I was really young, it was Michelangelo, but as I got older, I became more of a Donnie or became more of a Leo. And to me, it's being a co-parent that is. Has a little bit of me in all the turtles. Most of the times now I feel more like Splinter.
I mean, me too, actually. The way I feel currently, I feel like Splinter, yeah.
So I feel like, I'm the parent figure, as you boys behave. No, but yeah.
Now, when you're developing these stories, and you've told so many Ninja Turtle stories, when you're thinking of new stories, can you talk about some of the creative process you go through to get from the idea to the page?
It's, I'm a child and an adult and a huge fan of the genre and many genres, where TV shows, movies, so many other comics, things that we read, and you sort of do that, one, because you enjoy it, two, that you sort of want to survey the playing field and sort of look for your opportunity because it's so saturated and so many amazing ideas, so many amazing concepts. You look for an opportunity to tell an original story here or there. So sometimes it starts with a simple, like, I haven't seen that before. How can I develop this into an idea that would work as a story? And to be honest, I've been so lucky working with, originally with Peter, Tom Waltz for, going on 12 years, but so many, Eric Burnham, now Jason Ayers, a lot of people that bring a fresh perspective and an idea to the story is exciting and energizing. It really takes you down a rabbit hole that you hadn't thought of before. Even Jeff Rowe, when I first met him, the director of Mutant Mayhem, he grew up as a turtle fan, Halloween costume, collected all the toys, the thing, and he had a vision that he wanted to tell. And that, to me, got exciting because he was taking it to a place that personally he loved.
That's so cool. Yeah. Now, we are celebrating TMNT's 40th anniversary. Let me ask you this. If you can go back 40 years ago and tell young Kevin Eastman any piece of advice on this journey of Ninja Turtles, what would you tell him?
I was so, it's a good question. I do think, hindsight's always 20/20, what you might have done different. But I was so driven, and that was one of the things that Pete and I bonded over too early on. Very passionate about Jack Kirby and comics, but I was so obsessed with comic books. That's what I wanted to do as a career. I remember, now saying to my parents, I'm going to become Jack Kirby, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to have one of those kids that's never going to move out of the basement," kind of things, But if the Turtles hadn't worked, I knew I would have done something in comics, no matter what. But it was keeping the faith and work hard. But it's all the stuff that I was obsessed.
I love The Last Ronin. We're going to talk about this tomorrow, I'm sure, at length. But The Last Ronin's absolutely incredible and blew me away, especially being a Turtles fan and seeing where those turtles ended up in that story. Blew me away. There's this director's cut of the graphic novel that's out. Do you ever go back and look at some of the notes and early work and kind of analyze it and just it throws back? Like, how did you know what you wanted to include in that director's cut?
It really is. It's a wonderful evolution of, and it goes back to some of the earliest days that Pete and I worked together. In that we would sit and talk out an idea, basically a beginning, middle, and end of a particular beginning, middle, and end of a particular story in an arc, something, and I'd make probably 8 to 10 pages of handwritten notes, and then the process of developing and completing the story is like when you shoot a movie, in the sense that as I was doing the layouts, that's where the rest of the story evolves. That's where you're guiding your actors, they're guiding you, what scenes you want to set them in, where the page turns fall, and how that leads you to the story that makes it exciting for you. And so it really is organic in many ways, and that's the way I've always worked. So with Last Ronin, it was the most stressful in that I wanted it to be so perfect. The scenes of each of the turtles, how they meet there, and had to be spot on and perfect, that the moments had to be perfect. And that was what I told IDW when I said, in Nickelodeon, when I wanted to do this series, I said I want 40-page issues. I want to do 20-page fight scenes if I can do them. I want to have the control to really direct this as a project, and then work with Tom and the Escorza brothers and Ben Bishop. It was really, I felt more like a director, and the project was evolving as I was evolving with it.
Yeah, speaking of evolving, Reevolution. It's absolutely incredible. For those fans that may love and only have read Last Ronin, what can you tell them about Reevolution, and what are you excited for them to explore with it?
With Reevolution, it was a discovery that Tom and I also made along the process of completing Last Ronin. Once we had created the Roninverse and really dug in and found the story that we want to tell, we immediately knew we didn't want to leave it.
Sure. And
so this idea of the epilogue of Series 1 was 4 turtles at a terrarium with April. That was the spark. And then if we got the thumbs up, we had already had a number of ideas of how to evolve another set of turtles. And so with the first Turtles origin, it was very accidental in their creation. With Reevolution, it was more of an engineered thing. And for us, it was describing them, creating them, describing them, and having them find their purpose. Because you don't know. You can do your best to raise a child, and, it just turns out the way that person, because they're an individual, they're going to turn out the way they did. So that was what we wanted to explore in this series. So it's 4 new turtles, 2 males, 2 females, and we are just having an absolute blast, because we're also discovering things about their personality and the pacing and the things we want to do and say with them while we're doing it, and it's been a blast.
I'm so curious to see where they go. I can't wait. Well, listen, there's going to be a Last Ronin video game. I'm excited for it, and that's probably when I'm going to take a week off of Screen Rant, and I call out to just play that game all week long. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. You're absolutely a legend and incredible. Thank you.
So nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Alpha formation, go!
Whoa! I think all of his hormones just kicked in at once.
Follow him!